Hello. Today I wanted to talk about a state of mind that you should have when using the craft in your garden to ensure the greatest success and profit. Before I get started, I would like to make a disclaimer. The exact methods that I am using here and the exact amounts of currency that I am making off of them are highly subject to change, either due to upcoming patches from GGG or changes in the market. If you are watching this video the day I release it, then the pricing and the method should be pretty accurate. But what you should take away from this video is not those exact things, but instead the thought process behind how I'm creating the items and how you can apply that to a much broader range of crafts. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is how you can roll off colors using the garden. The example I'm going to use here are these triad grips. You don't have to use these, and the profit on triad grips has been falling, so it may not be advisable to use them for much longer. I would look up how much you can get off coloring other things, especially popular things like a shavs, like a carcass jack, before necessarily just jumping to this specific thing. But the method is quite simple. I put in the triad grips, I change the socket color of a non-green socket to green, thus forcing my colors. Now, it should be noted that if you are rolling with multiple different kinds of off colors, let's say my shavs here, if I wanted to do blue, 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 green, green, red, that's a bit more difficult because I can only try to recolor in specific combinations. It is best if you need something like a 4 red shavs. That's really easy with the garden, or a 4 blue carcass jack and the other 2 are green. That's really easy because you just go to green and blue only and then slowly convert over. If you're doing mixed off colors, it will be more difficult and potentially less profitable. Always keep in mind the stat requirements. The higher the stat requirements, the harder it is to naturally roll off colors. So chess pieces and bows can be excellent examples of things you want to use this on. The lower the stat requirements, the easier it is and likely the less profitable it is. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is reforging. I've not done a ton with reforged crafts yet, but one thing I have done is made a lot of these tailwind boots because it is a very easy craft to do. As you'll see, if I reforge crit, the only critical strike modifier that these boots can roll is tailwind. There are other examples of things where there is only one modifier with a specific tag on a base. Ideally, you want something that's an influence modifier. Maybe there's actually 2, not 1. If whatever that end result is popular, is in demand, such as tailwind boots. Lots of builds will use these, and they don't have to be excellent. They have to just be good enough. As you can see, I got some pretty mediocre rolls, and they still sell. So when you're using reforges, look for something where the base item does not have to be great, and where the forced mod from the reforge, there are only 1 or 2 possible outcomes on the base. An example of a terrible thing to do would be reforge fire on a ring, because you can get fire damage to attacks. We'll pretend it's an influence base. You can also get fire damage to attacks and spells. You can get increased fire damage. You can get fire resistance. There's so many options there that you're probably not going to hit what you want. And rings are fairly common. Generic rings are fairly common and not valuable. So if you don't hit exactly what you want, you're not getting a lot of value out of the craft. Now, along those lines, here are a couple examples of things that I made manipulating the crafts in the same way by looking at what is there only one crafting option for either the prefix or the suffix, and I can either block everything else or just roll it as is. And the first example I'm going to give are these eye level 85 Elder Helmets, and slamming nearby enemies take 9% increased physical damage. The only physical tagged suffix on an eye level 85 Elder Helmet is that fizz damage mod. So as long as the prefixes are full, blocking the reflect physical damage to attackers blah 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 mod, you'll always slam that exact suffix. Similarly, the only defense modifier on Shaper Shields is recover % of maximum energy shield when you block. This is insane because this is a super high ticket item, and you can make a lot of money if you have just a pretty good shield and then you put block on it. In fact, this one sold for about 6 exalts. I believe it cost me 1 to 2 exalts originally. It was not a particularly expensive shield, and so that's 4 exalts in profit just from the craft. One caveat with this: both of these things you must have full prefixes. There are other options where you can slam, an attack mod or a lightning mod or whatever, as long as the affixes are full, as long as you block correctly. A good example of this is this caster ring. I made this ring by filling up my prefixes with various things, crafting lightning damage, because the only 3 lightning suffixes on a ring are lightning resistance, which it has, lightning damage, which my crafted mod fills, and then the conductivity on hit. So I was able to force conductivity on the ring because I eliminated all other possibilities. If you're having trouble finding out what the tags are and how you eliminate possibilities, I strongly suggest PoEDB. And if your item is, like this ring, quite good, but maybe not perfect, you can always reroll certain mods. So the prefix on this ring, I can reroll that prefix to get a better caster mod, be it life gain on spell hit or spell damage, as much as I want with no risk, because that is the only valid prefix that will roll, and it can't roll a suffix from remove add because the suffixes are now also full. There's one topic which I have not covered because it is much more complex, much harder, and I don't have any good examples, which is remove non-whatever and add a mod of that type. That is especially powerful because you can use it to remove things like item rarity and mana, which normally would not be removed by other harvest crafts, but it is also more complex, so I'm going to probably cover it in a video of its own. I hope you found this helpful in terms of how you should think about using crafting if you're going about maximizing profit, some fairly inexpensive things that you can do, such as using Crit Reforge or using recoloring, and some more expensive options such as some of the slams on bases that might be 1 or 2 exalts each, but will net you 4 to 5 exalts in profit after you finish the item and it sells. Keep in mind, prices will change as more people find out about this. Even as an effect of me making this video, I could tank the market on all the crafts I featured here, but there are dozens of other combinations that you can do using these same principles. If there's only 1 attack mod on a base, if there's only 1 fire mod or 2 fire mods or 1 chaos mod. A good example of this is there's only 2 chaos tag prefixes for spell shield. Damage type is extra chaos and +1 to chaos gems. So if your suffixes are full, and you craft one of those, which would be the percent of, let's say, physical damage is extra chaos, and then slam it with a chaos, that chaos mod will always be +1 to chaos gems. There are a plethora of options that you can do if you think about tags in this way. I urge you, before you ever sit down to craft something, to go to PoEDB, look at how things are tagged, and really go through and see what can I make, how can I have the highest chance of success. Doing something like, oh, I'm going to do a more defense modifiers on a ES shield. That's cool and all. And don't get me wrong, that's kind of like using a dense fossil. It doesn't suck. It's not completely worthless, but it doesn't guarantee anything. And the value that you will get from that, it's a gamble. You could do it 50 times and get some really good shields, or you could do it 50 times and get absolutely nothing at all. Whereas if you use 1 defense slam as a suffix, or you use, let's just say you've blocked out every other possibility and you use a crit slam on boots to put tailwind on these really good 100 life, 80% res, 35 move speed hunter boots. That will never fail. You are only ever going to put tailwind on those. And that is incredibly, incredibly powerful. So check the tags of things. Make sure you find something where it is the only possible result and slam it for massive profits. I've been saying that this league mechanic is amazing. I've been saying the Garden Prince exalts. People have been asking me, how have you made all your money? Here's a quick screenshot of my current stash tab. I've invested quite a bit into my character, as you can probably see from how shiny the gear is on the side. This is how I have done it, and this is how you can do it. You do not need to do a specific, just copy this one quick craft and make 1 billion exalts. No. You can craft a whole bunch of different things. Just apply the principle of check the tags, look for things that are guaranteed, block mods where applicable. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Happy farming, Exiles.